All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, April 29th. We got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays. So I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of how we made out yesterday, we'll take the cha-ching. We were this close. One LE hits, run, or RBI would have cashed a 6-0 sweep from us. But you know what? We'll take the 5-1 night. Technically speaking, I guess it's more like a 4-1 because the Josh Young under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs and the under 1.5 bases, we had split the half unit on that one. So realistically, we still will take it though. The Reds money line comes through for us. That A's and Rangers first 5 under sweat free, and then that Rockies team total. They got off to a decently hot start and then just didn't score for the rest of the game. They finished with 3 runs. So you know what? One more cha-ching there. Let's try and parlay some of that momentum into today's slate. Guys, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate you tuning in today. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. It helps us out a ton here on the channel. But let's go ahead and dive into game number 1. Cleveland taking on Minnesota. Tanner Bybee on the mound for Cleveland, going up against Chris Paddack for Minnesota. So Paddack really hasn't been all that impressive. Some of his numbers look good, but he's really not going deep into games. So even when you see the 2 earned runs or the 1 earned run, it's through like 4 innings, 5 innings. So yes, from like a quick glance, maybe you're like, oh, he's not allowing that many runs, but he is only pitching 4 or 5 innings, right? Then you have Tanner Bybee on the other hand, and kind of just a mixed bag of what we've seen from him. We've seen some games in which, 0 earned runs through 6 innings, but we've also seen 7 earned runs through 4 innings. I would say that this is a spot in which I still would give the pitching advantage to Cleveland. They've now lost 3 straight games. Minnesota's offense looks like it's cooking. Kind of just a fade of recent results, I guess, in a sense. So this is going to be a slight lean towards Cleveland for me. I think they have the pitching advantage. I do think that their offense at some point will hit a little bit better than they have, and you throw the fact that Paddack's in there, may not be the toughest competition for them to hit, right? He's going to pretty much throw a bunch of fastballs and a bunch of changeups. Though Cleveland's numbers against both the fastball and the changeup aren't all that impressive, they're not exactly the most confusing pitches, right? In terms of where we go from a total perspective, I do think that this could be like a 5-4 game. I don't know if I get there myself with anything on this one. This is kind of like a toss-up-esque game to me. But I would say Cleveland and then a slight lean to the over. If you like the under, I kind of get why. Both bullpens not exactly in the worst of positions, honestly, pretty decently rested. And both of these pitchers have some decent numbers in their sample sizes against the current roster. So if you like the under, I get it. I just think at some point, Minnesota's offense is looking pretty good. Tanner Bybee hasn't been all that phenomenal, and I think Cleveland's offense is going to step up a little bit here against someone like Paddack. So Cleveland in the over. Don't know if we get down with either of those as final plays, though. FYI, it looks like we have some crappy weather there in Cleveland, so honestly, scratch that with the over. I still do lean, even with the weather news, I lean towards Cleveland, but I don't think that there's really any chance that we get an over down. So just FYI, it looks like we're going to have some rain and some gusts of winds in Cleveland there. Next up, Baltimore taking on the Yankees. Carlos Rodon on the bump for this Yankee squad, and Kyle Gibson's going to make his season debut here for Baltimore. This one's kind of simple. I was trying to find ways to get to Baltimore and Gibson. Gibson doesn't have the worst numbers against this Yankees squad. I mean, 90 plate appearances against in his career. And when I say the squad, I mean the guys that make up the roster. 20% K rate, 6% walk rate, 118 average against, a WOBA of 263, slugging of 351. So things are pretty good. But again, season debut, and what hand does Carlos Rodon throw with? His left hand. This Baltimore team against lefties, dead last in average, dead last in WRC+, dead last in OPS, ISO, and slugging, second to last in on-base percentage. So For that reason, I'm out. I'm leaning towards this Yankee squad. Do I think that they're worth, minus 140-ish is what they're at right now? Honestly, yes. Coming off of a loss yesterday as well, I think adds to it. So this could be a final play. But like I said, I was trying to get to the Baltimore side of it just because I like them, for plus money. But there's way too many factors here. The Yankees offense, I still do believe, is very good. I mean, they've been a little erratic, and maybe some of their numbers offensively are inflated by the way they've been scoring their runs. But ultimately, this offense still has a bunch of big names in it, and Rodon's a lefty. It's almost like enough said, you know what I mean? So give me the Yankees in this spot. I like their team total over as well. Looks like we have decent weather here in Camden Yards. 13 mile an hour winds blowing out, 85 degrees. So this could be a game where some of these Yankees do have, a decent look in terms of putting one out there. So I like their team total over. Right now, you're probably not getting all that much value on it because that total's up at 10. Total over 4.5 from minus 160, and they've only hit it in 4 of their last 10. A little dicey there, but it is kind of where I would go. In terms of a couple player props here, I guess just one that I really am noting, it's going to be still just a fade of what we've seen in terms of, these lefty bats not really cooperating on the Baltimore side of things. And I like Ryan Mountcastle under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Now, it does kind of worry me to take any under in a game that has a 10 total with some really good weather. And at some point, I feel like Carlos Rodon is going to get back to what he was doing a couple weeks back, right? Like he's been lights out, and they were both road starts, which is not necessarily his MO. So it's a little worrisome, but I do still think under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for someone like Mountcastle could be in play here. You're getting good odds at minus 110. The dude really hasn't been hitting lefties whatsoever this year. He hasn't been hitting that well whatsoever this year, but against lefties, 185 average, WRC plus under 50. Rodon against righty bats, batting average against of 138. He's going to throw the fastball. Okay, that could be a decent pitch for him, but the slider should really get him today, and that's Rodon's second pitch. So I like Mountcastle here under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. All right, Pittsburgh taking on the Cubs. This one's a little, I guess, interesting / weird to me because of the numbers. The fact that you can snag a Cubs at minus 148 off of 2 straight losses seems like the side or like the spot that I'd want to be in here. Yes, their bullpen isn't all that great. I get it, but they do have Shota Imanaga on the mound, who I would say is a far better pitcher than Andrew Heaney. Now, Heaney's been pitching well, right? And honestly, he's coming off of 2 really, really good starts, and he only had 1 little blip on the radar before that, and then he had 2 good starts before that. So this dude obviously is pitching well. I totally understand it, but Shota Imanaga, I know that he had the bad game against the Dodgers, and he had 1 really bad game against who he pitched against like a couple weeks ago, right? Or maybe 2 starts ago. But this is still a filthy, filthy pitcher. So I think that this is going to be a spot where the Cubs, get out early. Maybe they get to Heaney here. Their bullpen fully rested, right, as is Pittsburgh. So I guess, they don't really have the advantage there because I would say Pittsburgh's bullpen is better. But to me, I'm just looking for some regression out of Andrew Heaney. So maybe we forget Shota for a second. I think Shota is a weight worth considering, but maybe we do just look at Cubs team total over right now, over 4.5 or even, or actually minus 110 now. It's moved a little. Maybe that's the spot. I just don't necessarily want to buy into the Heaney train, even though he has been really, really pitching well. So I guess that's kind of where we'd go. We'd either go Cubs or their team total over. Nothing outside of that I'm absolutely loving in terms of, including Pittsburgh in and over. No, they could get shut down by Shota. Who knows, right? And then player prop wise, what if Heaney? I got a couple question marks there too, right? What if Heaney does pitch well? Okay, well, maybe then some of these overs that we might look at on the Cubs side of things don't have as much value as we think. What if Shota pitches well? All of a sudden, some of those overs, like it's like sticking to unders, and it's like, okay, well, if we take unders, what if Heaney doesn't pitch well like we kind of expect? Boom, there's going to be more over. So a lot of question marks on the player prop side of it. I hate to put your brain as well as mine in a pretzel about that, but we're just sticking to Cubs. We're keeping it simple. Cubs or their team total over in this one. I think that's as far as we'd go until we kind of see, what Heaney is. Right now, he could have another start, and I'm saying the same thing next start, as crazy as that is. All right, real quick, guys, before we do move on to the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about a couple things here, both involving Underdog. If you guys have not checked out Underdog yet, now is a great time to do so. They have tons of free squares for new customers for the NBA playoffs. I know we're talking baseball, but these are free picks. How can you not go check them out, right? A Tatum one, a Luka one, 0.5 points for both of them, meaning one foul shot cashes this in your entry. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. When you sign up, you'll also get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Absolute no-brainer, guys. If you like player props and you think you're good at picking player props, Underdog is one of the simplest and most entertaining ways to do it. And speaking of entertaining, they have an awesome deal going on right now. It's called the Extender. So there are a couple stipulations. You start with game one and you throw in entries and you get a boost the longer and longer that series goes. So obviously we're in the middle of some of these series right now, but this is going to be super important and awesome to take advantage of in the next series. So go ahead and check it out. Again, you get those free squares and the extender promo that they're doing as of right now, and you get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus. Sounds like a no-brainer to me. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Let's get back to some of these baseball games. All right, next game, we have Cincinnati taking on St. Louis. So this one worked out for us yesterday. I will say that as the day went on and we had that Cincinnati play in there, I started to feel like a little bit weird about it. Like, oh boy, I don't know if I love the spot. We had placed it early, so we already locked in, right? They came through and won 3-1 for us. I wouldn't necessarily sit there and tell you that their offense was all that great, but, you know, St. Louis only scoring 1 run, and it happened to be in the top of the first, and then they went 8 scoreless innings. That made me feel a little bit better as it kind of, went through, right? So today, I think we're flipping the script. I don't mind the idea of a plus money play on St. Louis. They're plus 120 right now. This is the game where I think everyone was talking yesterday that it's not a good spot for Cincinnati because they're coming back from Colorado and whatnot. But they were riding a high off of, that Colorado series. They scored a bunch of runs and they swept them, right? In a 4-game, if I'm not mistaken, series. Now they get home, and yesterday, it was a 3-game series now that I look at it. But now, they get home, they win yesterday with all the momentum on their side, but they only scored 3 runs. Like, St. Louis lost that game just as much as Cincinnati won it. Today, for plus 120, I think this could be a spot for St. Louis. Brady Singer on the mound, who we really have yet to fade this year. I think that he's in a very good spot, but he's had like kind of a mediocre start to his year. He had a very good opening, start for the Cincinnati squad, and then the rest of his, games have just been mediocre. I mean, some of his numbers look good, but you take a peek at something like his xFIP when he's at home, over 4. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, maybe there are some advanced numbers that you can look at that say he's due for some regression. And Miles Michaelis on the other side of things, so you look at his numbers, it's like, oh, the dude has stunk, right? But at the same time, he's pitching, 5 innings, 2 earned runs, very middle of the pack in a lot of these. And he's coming off of 6 innings, 0 earned runs, 6-hit performance against Atlanta. And we're starting to see Atlanta's offense look okay, right? So I think that the tides are going to turn a little bit here. And for the plus money, I think this is a 50-50-ish type of a game. So for that plus money at plus 120, I think it might be worth a sprinkle on the cards here overall. So yeah, that's the direction that I'm going to lean in. Do we have the cojones to back Miles Michaelis? I'm not all that sure. I'm not the biggest Michaelis fan, but it could be happening today. In terms of what we have from a total, if the Cardinals do win this one, I assume their offense did their thing, and I would probably end up looking at a team total over or a full game over, because again, I don't really fully want to back Miles Michaelis, but I think Brady Singer is due for a start in which, he doesn't perform as even as mediocre as he has been in a sense. In terms of a player prop, do I think this is an absolute lock? No, I never do with any of my plays, right? But Matt McLain under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for plus 125 today, I think I could get behind. Reason being is he's just not batting. He's batting 157 on the year. It does jump to 161 against righties. Fine. But the slider is going to be a big pitch from Michaelis today, and he doesn't hit the slider all that well. So I do think that there's a chance for plus 125, much like we like the Cardinals. Like this is maybe a 50-50 type play, but you're getting plus money on one side. So yeah, that's a spot that I've kind of talked myself into here. Matt McLain under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. It does obviously worry me to some degree, but just because I think that he's capable of doing it, and he's had some success against Michaelis in the past. But if Michaelis' slider is even okay today, we could be in decent shape, all right? So just know this is like a 50-50 spot, but for the plus 125, we're getting what I would consider value odds on it. All right, Philadelphia taking on Washington. My guy Zach Wheeler on the mound, going up against Mackenzie Gore. on the Washington side of things. So I almost was starting to get to a first 5 under here just because I was backing Zach Wheeler and a Mackenzie Gore at the same time as well. I've now talked myself into a full game over, which is like a complete 180. The reason being is that both of these guys, bats on the other end, have seen them plenty. Zach Wheeler, career versus the current roster on the Nationals, 182 plate appearances against. Normal numbers, like good Zach Wheeler numbers, but they've seen him a ton, right? Which makes sense. Same thing for Mackenzie Gore, 172 plate appearances against the current Phillies roster. So all of a sudden, it's like, well, the first 500, even though I do think that these guys are both good pitchers, gets a little dicey. You throw in the fact that Philadelphia bats lefties really well. Mackenzie Gore has had some struggle on the road this year. There's more and more that I'm starting to see that I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of tough. Now, one of his road starts was in Colorado. Another one was in Miami. Both of those ballparks are obviously Colorado, but Miami too, they kind of produce overs like you read about. So I'm willing to say Mackenzie Gore isn't that bad in terms of being on the road. There is some context there, but still, I think both these offenses can kind of generate some oomph here, especially in the later innings. I haven't been impressed with the Phillies bullpen, and if we know anything about Washington, this bullpen does stink. So yeah, full game over is what I'm ultimately getting to here. If you don't want to really include Washington, which I can get, maybe you take a peek here at the Philadelphia team total over. That way, you're kind of also able to still root for Zach Wheeler and think that he's gonna pitch well. And Mackenzie Gore might just get hit up, but I think both squads could score late in the inning. So I'm gonna lean in that direction. If I had to take a side here, which for video purposes we will lean towards a side, I don't mind the idea of the Phillies on the first 5 run line. Now they have only covered that in one of their last, I think it's 6 games, minus 0.5 in the first 5. But Washington, in a very similar boat, only one of their last 5, they've actually covered the plus 0.5. So yeah, this is a spot in which I think that the Phillies, especially with Zach Wheeler on the mound, can get out early. I'm just looking for some offense from them for certain. When it comes to player props, nothing, overly popping out to me in this one. We did have a couple, but nothing, like I said, that's all that great. Alex Baum here, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I like that. Also liked Zach Wheeler over in strikeouts. He's been hitting that like crazy this year. Actually, on the season, I think he's hit it in all but one game. That was against St. Louis. Not exactly a strikeout game for him, but the Phillies just didn't even score, right? St. Louis kind of got to him, but he's averaging 8.3 strikeouts per game here. And again, he's going up against Washington, not exactly the best offense. What I will say is Washington hasn't really been striking out a ton this season. They're actually top 5 in the league, so that's kind of what talked me off of it. But Zach Wheeler's strikeout rate this year is 34%. When he's at home, 46% K rate. That is filthy. All right, Tampa Bay taking on Kansas City. Tampa Bay is heavily favored. I think that makes sense. I'm going to have to figure out if we can, swallow that price, because minus 150, I've seen actually minus 154 looks like it's the best now. Still does seem like it has a little bit of value. Like I would say it's Tampa Bay with Taj Bradley on the mound going up against Michael Lorenzen. That's the side, right? Like no questions asked. I think that this Tampa Bay offense, anytime you get a righty, should be good to go. They hit the curve, they hit the slider, they hit the fastball. All these pitches, Michael Lorenzen will mix in, right? Taj Bradley, we know, is going to throw a heater, especially when he's at home. And this Kansas City team, third to last in terms of hitting the fastball per 100 fastball seen over the last 30 days. So yeah, I think this is a Tampa Bay spot. Taj Bradley's worth backing. Their bullpen's a hell of a lot better than Kansas City's bullpen. It's just a matter of if we can get down that minus 150, which I have a feeling this might even continue to move. So I would say that, this is a spot. Now, Tampa Bay's bullpen had the day off yesterday, right? But prior to that, these guys put in a lot of work. So I'm curious to see where they go in terms of arms and whatnot. You look at yesterday, no one pitched. You'd think that they're all good to go, right? But again, some of them pitched 2 out of the last 3 days prior to that. So meaning they've pitched 2 out of the last, 4, 2 of the last 3 just in general. Some have pitched 3 out of the last 4 before that. So now they're at 3 out of the last 5, which again, day off, they should be okay. But it is a little bit of a concern, especially with this price tag, but I don't really fear Lorenzen, and Taj Bradley at home for a couple years now has been the spot to play him. And also, I think he's due for some progression. He's had a couple if he starts, and honestly, maybe this season hasn't even had the best of seasons, but, at home against a Kansas City offense that has just struggled to score in general, I think is a decent spot. Kansas City went through that little stretch of, you put up some runs when you were playing Colorado. Right now, they were at home, so didn't have the elevation. But other than that, it's been pretty damn brutal in terms of how many runs they're scoring. They're only averaging 3.14 runs for, meaning how many runs they score per game this season. That is just abysmal. In terms of what we have from a total, I would lean towards an under because I think Bradley's going to pitch well, and I think that this Kansas City team, their offense just is not clicking. Maybe a Kansas City team total under if you like it, and if you're just dead set on looking at an over, then sure. I think Tampa Bay's team total over would be the move there because I don't know how well I envision Lorenzen pitching here. I don't think he has a terrible day, but this is the race against a righty. They do hit them pretty damn well. Now, when we pivot to player props here, now we lost this one the other day. Might be something we go right back to. Jonathan India under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. The fastball, the splitter, the cutter, all pitches that he doesn't hit all that well. And I expect, again, Taj Bradley to have a decent performance here at home. So, I'm gonna lean towards him. He's burned us before. Does he burn us again? Well, if he does, I don't think that we're going to be even considering, touching him. Pause. You can roll with him, I should say, in the future because he's already burned us a couple times this year. But some of the numbers looking like they're matching up here. And again, if Taj Bradley's going to pitch well, we could be in a good spot for a player prop under for him. Problem is he's probably going to get up, 4 or 5 times. Guys, I wanted to talk to you about our Guy Boston Sports MLB dashboard that we have over on GuyBostonSports.com. So on our website, you'll see here, this is, by the way, also the link down in the description and the pinned comment that takes you to the final plays, GuyBostonSports.com right here. But over in the members tab, so at the top right of your screen, you'll see we have the MLB dashboard. You can click on that. Now, I'm already logged in, so it's going to show the dashboard for me. I'll show you how to get access in a little bit. But essentially, what we're doing is we have each and every game broken out in a visual format. You can print this out. You can download it, all that good stuff. But again, we have pitcher data, we have bullpen data, pitch mix, so we know what pitches these pitchers are going to be throwing, batting data for this season, or actually the last 30 days against the pitching hand that they'll see today, and then if they're home or away against that pitching hand as well. So in this example, Heaney being a lefty, right, we have the Cubs overall in the last 30 days versus left-handed pitching last 30 days, and then versus left-handed pitching on the road in the last 30 days as well. We have versus specific pitches, so we can match up to the pitch data. And then you also have some player information here from an average versus a lefty, OPS versus lefty, and then per pitch as well. All this, guys, is again through the Guy Boston Sports membership on the website, not on YouTube. And this is how it will look if you are not logged in and you are interested in signing up, right? So you'd click the same thing. You go to members, MLB dashboard, and it's okay, hey, you need a membership. Membership is required. View the membership levels. We have 3 offers right now. Because the NBA is still going on, you can do the all sports dashboard for $6.99 per month, NBA specifically if you want, or just the MLB. But I would recommend saving a couple bucks a month and doing the all sports dashboard because we have a really cool NBA dashboard as well. But yeah, consider it, guys. GuyBostonSports.com. Go ahead and check it out and consider becoming a member today. This stuff is what I use. Like, I built this, and I've told you guys before in videos, right? I built these dashboards to help me with my process in the morning, to be able to kind of make my process and research process more efficient and help me find plays that, would probably take hours of digging before having this, right? So I'm bringing it to you guys. We've brought it to you guys, and there's been great feedback on it so far. Is it an end-all, be-all? No, you'll probably still want to do some of your own due diligence outside of the dashboard, but I stand by the fact that it is an amazing starting place to look at, and kind of begin your research process for the day. So yeah, consider it, guys, GuyBostonSports.com. All right, Toronto taking on Boston. I like the matchup here for Crochet. Believe he's going up against Bowden Francis. We don't have that fully confirmed yet, if I'm not mistaken, but seeing his name enough around that I do think that is going to be the pitcher. But regardless, Garrett Crochet, I think, is due for a bounce back here. Now, he had a really bad game against, was it Seattle, right? And when I say bad game, he walked a ton of guys, and he only allowed like 5. I think he allowed as many walks as hits. He had a bunch of strikeouts, but a ton of earned runs, and those were due to obviously putting guys on base, right? Now, the Red Sox 7 runs against Cleveland, 13 runs against Cleveland in their last 2 games, one being the second leg of a doubleheader, and then the standalone game, when was that, on Thursday or Friday or something? No, that would have been, Thursday, Friday. That would have been Sunday, right? But minus 154, I think, is a good spot here. This Toronto team, their offense is certainly struggling. Their last 6 games here, right? 0-1-1, okay, 4 runs, 2-1 runs scored. I don't see them having the most success here against a guy like Garrett Crochet, who obviously is a very good pitcher, but he's going to throw a ton of fastballs, a ton of cutters. Neither one of those pitches this Toronto team hits. And even using the dashboard that we just talked about, right? I can show you fastball, cutter, both of those pitches down here, not all that great, right? Bowden Francis throws a ton of fastballs and a ton of splitters. Well, look at that. 11th and 4th for this Red Sox team. Now, you might be sitting there being like, whoa, Toronto hits lefties really well. And I guess that they do, but I think Garrett Crochet is a little bit more of an animal. Do you know what I mean? He's not just your everyday lefty. So I like the Red Sox in this one, not just because I'm a Red Sox fan. I think it's a good spot. Full game, first 5, however you want to dice it up. In terms of what we have from a total here, it's at 7.5, which I think they're giving Francis a lot of credit. Which, sure, I mean, he's had a decent year. We can use that word, right? But that's a lot of credit here. I think I like a Red Sox team total over as well. I just think Garrett Crochet could deal, and that's why this total is so low. So I'm afraid of taking a full game over because this could very well be like a 4-1 game in which, yeah, Boston did their job, but Toronto kind of got shut out. So maybe a Red Sox team total over, or, you know, Toronto first 5 team total under, truly just backing Crochet. Maybe there's something that we can get to there, something kind of in that ballpark. No pun intended, but I guess pun fully intended. In terms of what we have from player props here, I do like a couple player props on the Red Sox side of things, and they're actually overs, which we are definitely an under better so far in the MLB season. But you have Alex Bregman over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. 9 of his last 10 games, he's hit the over. He's averaging 2.7 hits, runs, and RBIs. He's averaging 2.69 on the season, so we do like to see that, right? In terms of being on the road, does dip a little bit, but dips to 2.4. The dude is still putting in the work, right? And again, he's going up against Bowden Francis, who he's yet to do anything against. I think he has 1 walk in 4 plate appearances, 0 hits. But against righties this year, he's batting .330. Bowden Francis struggles against the right-handed bats, and he's going to see the fastball, splitter, the curve, the slider, and the sinker. Slider and sinker definitely the 4th and 5th pitch, but I like Bregman against those. And then Jarren Duran, kind of similar boat here. He guy's been crushing it. He bats righties a little bit better than he does lefties, and he's going to see the fastball, splitter, the curve, all that. So I think these are good spots for both these player props on the Red Sox side of things to consider an over. All right, Mets taking on Arizona. This is a game which I'm a little conflicted on because I do think this Arizona team may be worth a plus 125 shot today, but the Mets are playing some good baseball. You know what I mean? David Peterson on the mound, he's been looking pretty good as well. I mean, he's like at worst been looking good. Do you know what I mean? So like that's pretty damn impressive for him. Arizona has Eduardo Rodriguez, so yeah, I'd say pitching advantage to the Mets. In terms of bullpen, Mets probably have the better bullpen as well. And then it's a toss-up for offense. I'd put the Mets at home probably in a better situation, but Arizona against lefties so far this season on the road, they've kind of raked. So I think this could be a game in which we see some runs, even though we have, Peterson on the mound who's been okay and 2 decent bullpens. I'd say at least 1 decent bullpen. I should probably rephrase that. So I'm going to lean towards the over. Mets probably on the actual smarter side of taking a side here, even though I do think that there's a good chance that Arizona could win this game, right? But I don't really want to step in front of what the Mets got going on right now. I think they're 8-2 in their last 10. They're scoring a bunch of runs. They just scored like 1 million runs yesterday. They've put up 19 runs yesterday. That was in Washington. Now they get back home to New York, but it's not like the craziest of travel, right? Arizona had the day off. They were at home. Now they go to New York. So I'd kind of put the travel and the spot in the same situation. Just know I'm not trying to talk you off it. I love betting this Arizona team, and we almost got there today, but I don't really want to get in front of what the Mets are doing, especially with the fact that all their pitchers just seem to be lights out right now. So though I think their pitchers could win them this one, I still think this could be like a 5-4 game. So I'm going to lean over. It's kind of counterintuitive when you think about good pitching, but who knows? Eduardo Rodriguez is not something I want to back either. That's all I really have in this one, Mets in the over. Can move through this one pretty quickly as well. We have Milwaukee and Chicago, the White Sox. Freddie Peralta's on the mound. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs. Chicago, the second worst team in the last 30 days in terms of runs above average. Per 100 fastballs seen, they're 29th, second worst, like I said. So, yeah, this is a Milwaukee spot. Maybe a consideration for a Milwaukee first 5 run line. What you're going to get for that still seems like it's a little expensive, right? Minus 140. It's like you still have to be winning by 1. Bryce Wilson on the mound here for this Chicago team. Nothing really to report there. He hasn't been all that great, whether it's out on the road, at home, anything like that. He has a deep pitch mix, and Milwaukee has kind of struggled to score at times, but I don't mind them today in this one. What I will say, it does kind of talk me into issue here of pulling the trigger on that first 5 run line. Chicago, 5 straight games, they've covered their plus 0.5. So they've either been winning or tied in the first 5 in 5 straight. Maybe it's time that they don't, but again, minus 140 for that run line price. Run line, I think that might be a fairly high price. So Milwaukee and then maybe a Chicago team total under would be how I look at this one. All right, Texas taking on the Athletics. This is a tough one because you have Jacob Lopez on the mound for the Athletics. He's only pitched like 4 innings this year, going up against Jacob deGrom. So who's the better Jacob? You tell me. I'm thinking it's going to be deGrom today, right? And their odds are telling you just that. But what I will say is, this is a spot in which we obviously liked the under in the first 5 yesterday. I don't think that I go right back there. I think that this Texas team, could hit Lopez being kind of one of the fresher pitchers here. I don't think he's started yet. He's come into 3 games. Like I said, pitched like 4 innings and a third. So, yeah, maybe this is a Texas spot for the first 5. But again, it's kind of confusing because you have a really good pitcher in deGrom pitching who, say what you want about some of his starts, he's been pretty at least flatline this year, right? I think his worst start was like 4 earned runs against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay hits righties well. I'm almost willing to give him a little bit of a leash there. But what do we know about, Jacob Lopez? Not all that much. So to me, it's probably a spot for Texas first 5, but a lot of question marks in this one, right? And that total at 8.5, 2 teams that I would say haven't necessarily been like smacking the ball around either. Texas for longer than the Athletics, but the A's have like 5 games in a row now where they've kind of struggled to score. Maybe an under, but do we just say Athletics team total under and kind of trust deGrom? I'm not sure. A lot of question marks in this one. I know you guys hate when we go through a whole game and it's like, I don't really know, but I'm not gonna fake confidence for content, right? I say that all the time. I'd rather just keep it real. All right, Houston taking on Detroit. High scoring game yesterday. This was 8-5. Ends up being a win for Houston. Reese Olson on the mound today for this Detroit team going up against Ryan Gusto. Ryan Gusto is still, and I've said it multiple times now, still a pitcher that I can't seem to figure out. I don't think this Houston offense is very good. I would like to think that Ryan Gusto is not all that great, but obviously he's been pitching pretty damn well, right? So maybe I got egg in my face saying that because he has, 3 or 4 starts, and he's pitching 5+ innings in the most recent ones and looking pretty good. That being said, he's gone up against the Angels, Toronto, and then I think he faced a good offense and pitched well in these other one. Don't have that up in front of me. But Reese Olson is having a little bit of a nice stretch here, right? 2 straight games now, again, Kansas City and San Diego. Oh, San Diego is the one that Gusto pitched against too. But 5 innings pitched against Kansas City, 0 earned runs. 7 1/3 against San Diego, 0 earned runs. Now, I don't think it was a full San Diego roster in terms of the normal everyday players, but still, let's give Reese Olson some credit, right? I would say that this is a spot in which I'm willing to back the Tigers, especially, throwing in the fact that they lost yesterday. I like them for, plus 100 today. You can actually minus 105 looks like the best, so that's unfortunate. But Reese Olson's pitching pretty well. I don't think there's anything wrong with believing that he can go in there and continue to do it. Gusto, though, again, like maybe we're missing the train on this dude because he seems to be pitching pretty well overall. I mean, his season stats look pretty good. 2.78 ERA, 1.1 WHIP, 2.7 FIP, average against 244. Sure. All that looks good. I just think Detroit maybe gets to him today, and Reese Olson continues to pitch well. It's kind of simple as that. That's all I have in this one. I would say also, I didn't mention Detroit team total over. I think that they kind of, we saw a high-scoring game yesterday. Maybe they continue that today, even though they ended up losing. They still scored a lot of runs yesterday. All right, Colorado taking on Atlanta. Chase Dollander on the mound for Colorado, going up against Smith Scheuer for this Atlanta team. I'm not willing to pay the price for Atlanta today, so I guess it's Colorado default in terms of where I'd go from a play perspective. Yesterday, we did cash Colorado's team total under, but that was because I kind of envisioned Bryce Elder having a good start, which he kind of desperately needed, and he really didn't even do that. Like, he was the one that almost cost us that play, right? It was 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs on 5 hits, 1 home run, 2 walks. So it's like he didn't even pitch all that well, so there's nothing telling me that maybe Smith Scheuer wouldn't pitch well either. Maybe we do go right back to a Colorado team total under, but they are in Colorado, and that can be a little bit scary, you know what I mean? So yeah, we'll think about that one, but that's really the only thing that I would consider touching in this one. And I know we've gone a few games in a row now being like, that's the only thing, but hey, not every game can have like a nice play that we really like in it, right? But I guess I can't admit if I default lean Colorado money line and like their team total under, that probably would correlate to a full game under, right? Because if they score not that many runs, and I still think they could win this game. Obviously, the Atlanta Braves are going to score less than them in this brain, so I guess an under 10.5 would be a look as well. I think there's some 11s out there, which it's always kind of dicey, but fun when you fade science and say that stuff is not, the balls aren't going to fly farther. You're still going to make contact with it. All right, San Diego taking on San Francisco. Pavetta's on the mound going up against Logan Webb. I would say that this is a spot in which I'm considering San Diego at the plus money. Pavetta's been phenomenal. They are at home. Logan Webb is a really good pitcher, and he forces a lot of ground balls. And honestly, San Diego's been hitting a lot of ground balls as well. But if Pavetta's fastball is on, he's going up against San Francisco, who in the last 30 days, dead last in terms of runs above average against the fastball per 100 fastballs seen. So yeah, I kind of think that this for plus money, again, could be a Pavetta spot in terms of that roster for San Diego. Tatis, Sheets, Machado, Bogarts as the top 5 there. Arias still out of the lineup. And, there's a lot of kind of diciness I would throw in there when it comes to the starting lineup of this San Francisco team. And most of the guys not hitting the fastball all that well. So again, focusing on that pitch, I think that we could see a good game for Pavetta here, which would definitely help. Now, bullpen-wise, both these bullpens are very, very good. So 2 really good starters, 2 really good bullpens, and some offense that, even though San Diego's very good, I guess San Fran was very good, they've been kind of volatile, right? So maybe an under, even though it's all the way down at 7, maybe an under is consideration here. But for that plus number, I think that San Diego could definitely be a play today. Actually, yeah, plus 110 over on MGM right now. I'm sure you could probably end up seeing that as a final play. Now, if you're thinking, oh my God, no, so this is a San Francisco spot and blah, 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 I'm really not trying to talk you off it. I think this is going to be a close game, and you're giving me, again, a plus number with a stud pitcher on the mound and the home team. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason. I'm not trying to say that San Diego is miles better than San Francisco. I do think that they have a lot of advantages in this one, though. So San Diego in the under is what I'd consider here. Player prop-wise, I do think that there is some opportunity, even though there's some names in this game. There's for sure some opportunities in terms of taking some unders here, like Jose Iglesias, Manny Machado. I don't mind their under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This is kind of on the along the thought of, well, Logan Webb should be producing a lot of ground balls with the sinker and slider. So even if these guys do hit the ball, I don't necessarily know if they're lifting it like up and out of here. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for both Iglesias and Machado could be looks, but I think San Diego, just bet it. Bet it and forget it. Could be the play here in this one. We don't need to get our hands dirty with anything else in there. All right, Seattle taking on the Angels. Before we jump into that, guys, go ahead and comment 36 if you made it this far into the video. I know we got some long videos here on the YouTube, you know what I mean? It's not hidden to me that we can ramble and talk, but at the same time, one, I like to make videos and talk, right? Talk sports. That's just kind of the flat baseline. Secondarily, I want to provide at least the information that I'm seeing in front of me. Some people like the way that I do it. Some people don't. It's worked, so we're going to keep doing that. But I know that we can ramble and talk, and hell, doing this right now, talking about the length of the video, is making the video longer. But hopefully you guys do appreciate the fact that, we're going through each and every game and just giving our thoughts on it. Like, I like the idea of just being able to talk about sports with a buddy or something like that, and that's kind of what we do every single day. So yeah, I acknowledge that the videos are long, but with a 15-game MLB slate and MLB being so analytical and there's so much data at our fingertips, it's hard not to spend a few minutes on each game, meaning at the bare minimum, we're looking at like a 40-minute video with 15 games. Some will breathe through, but some will make it up on the other end with talking about a lot. So yeah, comment 36. It lets me know that you heard this rant, and just know that, like, I'm sorry, but not sorry that the videos are long. Personally, I love a good long video that, I can watch or listen to for longer than just a few minutes. So I know it's not for everybody, but really do appreciate all the ones that mess with me and everyone else on the channel. I really do appreciate it. But let's get into this game. Seattle taking on the Angels. Bryce Miller on the mound going up against Jack Kochanowicz. Kind of a spot for Seattle, but are we really thinking about that minus 180 price tag? I don't think that I am, so I think I pivot to a first 5 under here. The problem are either of these pitchers, I should say, the most trustworthy, and that's where you definitely catch me saying not so much. So if we look at a first 5 under in this spot, and we can kind of specify to these two pitchers, right? So first 5 under, the number we're going to be looking at is 4.5. Yes, we're paying, actually, it's not as much juice as I remember, so minus 130. You look at Kachanowicz here on the season, he's hit the under 4.5 in just 2 of his 5 starts and 1 of his 3 road starts. You flip it over to Bryce Miller, right? He's hit the under, though, in his first 5 and 4 of his 5, which obviously this is kind of a pitcher-esque ballpark. Pitcher-esque, I didn't mean it like that. Ballpark, right? But they are there today, so we can't deny that that could help. And him at home, 2 for 2 in terms of his first 5 under. So I think this could be a decent spot. Both pitchers, I'm thinking, keep these balls on the ground today. Kachanowicz produces a lot of ground balls as a pitcher. Bryce Miller, not so much, but I don't think that this Angels team is necessarily going to hit him all that hard. And I guess for the sake of this play, which it definitely has a chance of being a final play, that's what we're talking about so much, I would hope that Bryce Miller does what he did a couple starts ago, because he kind of got hit up by Boston, right? But before that, he pitched really, really well against Cincinnati and Texas. I'd put the Angels in a similar offensive category as those squads, right? Like, they were off to a hot start, and now they're just averaging 3.7 runs for per game. So, yeah, first 5 under 4.5. I think we have some decent odds on this one and decent angles to be made about it. So, I'm gonna lean in that direction. And like I said, it's a Seattle spot for me. I think they have a lot of advantages here, but I don't know if we can pay that price tag, and I don't know if I fully have my trust in Bryce Miller enough to say, hey, let's go win the first 5, minus 0.5. So first 5 under in Seattle some way, shape, or form is where I'd go. All right, Dodgers have Sauer on the mound going up against Sandy Alcantara. I know I pronounce names incorrectly sometimes. I have trouble saying my own name, and it's Ev. But Alcantara's been pretty bad on the road. Like, I shouldn't even say pretty. He's been bad on the road. We really haven't seen him even look as good as, obviously, Cy Young-esque Sandy, but this season's kind of struggled. He is a righty. He pitches well to righties, but this is a pretty decently mixed Dodgers lineup. I would still say that, minus 200 is a little bit too much, but with Sauer on the mound, I'm not like all that afraid of the idea of maybe some runs in this game. Even if the Dodgers have to do it themselves, sure, but over 8.5 is where I'd go in this one. I don't think Alcantara really has the gusto that he needs. You know what I mean? So I'm going to lean towards the over, and I guess Dodgers maybe run line, if anything. Again, we talk about the Dodgers every single day. They usually close out the video because of the late games. Dodgers against righties, worth backing, worth considering. Dodgers against lefties, that's when I start to decipher and dig into it. But a lot of the times when they're going up against righty, we don't even spend as much time on the game because their offense is so good, and they're so good against righties. It's hard to find value because the books have already priced it out accordingly. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Over might be the only thing that we consider in this one, but it's not my favorite play on the board. But, guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate you tuning in. I know I went through that little rant, but I mean every word of it. I don't take any of this for granted. The fact that I get out of bed, get my morning started, get to research sports, and then come on here and talk about sports with an amazing community, like, that is not something that I'm sitting there being like, wow, I deserve this. No, I got lucky and worked our asses off to be in a good position, and now here we are, and we're having a blast doing it. So really do appreciate you guys. I just talked to a camera and microphone. You watching and being a human on the other end is really the gear that kind of makes this thing turn. So truly appreciate it. And without further ado, we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.